Good evening once again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Socially Distant, where the CDC has told us that starting a podcast is a great way to make sure that nobody wants to fucking be around you. I'm your host, Alex Weber. By my side, once again,
Ramrod. My name is Ramrod.
Uh,
Ramrod Richie Oliver.
Ramrod Richie Oliver. Yes, he is. He's back on the streets and he's ramming his rod.
I'm ramming my rod. Good old Ramrod.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So Richie, how's your weekend been? Or how was your
My
weekend?
weekend's been good.
It's Sunday night.
Yep. Yesterday I went for a really nice walk with my dad.
Ooh. Oh yes, I did see pictures of that.
I took some cool pictures of him. I want to have conversations with him on these walks and actually record them and just call it Walks with Jim and make him famous.
Yes.
I think could be really, really funny. Just Walks with Jim. And that's pretty much it. And then I watched the rest of the Long Strange Trip Grateful Dead documentary on Amazon Prime, even though I also do own it on Blu-ray, but that's not the point.
Yeah. So this is gonna be probably our main topic of the day.
Yep. Mm-hmm. How about yourself? How was your weekend before we get into the huge big topic?
Yeah. So my weekend was pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
Really didn't do much, especially today was. I had some times both yesterday and today where like I just did some cleaning. Like I really had to clean some shit around my house. Clean the floors, bathroom, stuff like that.
Yep.
So that was good, but I do have a really bad like dust mite allergy, so I gotta like clean for like 10 minutes and then like take a break for a bit and then like go back to it. So I've been like sparsing it out over the past couple days. That's kind of about it. Signed up for my 401k yesterday.
Okay.
Even though I'm going on furlough tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I got a thing in the mail being like, all right, if you don't pick like a percentage or whatever, or pick a plan by the 10th, we'll just automatically do this. And it was going to be a little bit more than what I wanted to, especially at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, I'd like to get this done before I'm technically not employed. So like it's done before that. So I figured I'd just do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then yesterday there was like a decent amount of time, like around the afternoon, where it was just really, really nice outside.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, because you went on a walk with your dad.
Yep.
I took a little quick lap around the block and then took both my kitchen stools out on my back porch. And the sun was hitting me like literally directly. Like I'm in perfect line of sunlight.
Oh, perfect.
And so I just sat there for like an hour plus, just hung out on the porch.
That's awesome.
It was super
Once
nice.
this ends, we'll have to go and get chairs for your porch.
Dude, I know. I was looking on Wayfair and some other websites yesterday, trying to just like get some porch furniture ideas. I wish there was an outlet out there so I could put like string lights up, but unfortunately, none.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, been watching a lot of Netflix and Amazon Prime in my downtime.
Nice. Same.
Before we get into the Amazon Prime, quick sidebar on what I was watching on Netflix today.
Oh,
it's called Unorthodox, and it is a Netflix show that is, I believe, it is based on a book, so like a true events, but it's a dramatization of it, and it is about this woman who is a Hasidic Jew in Brooklyn, and she gets married at like 18, I think, and then a year later finds a way to sneak out and go to Berlin because she wants to like have her own life and wants to get out of that, culture and lifestyle.
Oh, damn.
And so I'm only about like halfway through episode 2 maybe.
Okay.
But it's 4 episodes in total. So it's really not a long series. But I would definitely recommend it because it's super interesting, and I guess Netflix also has a like making of little documentary after that.
That sounds really cool.
So I'll probably watch that. It was recommended to me by a friend, and they were like, "Is this just like they just making this up, or is this how these this group of people actually is and everything?" And I guess they did take a pretty decent attention to detail of accuracy in that, especially because it's based off of a book that the person who actually did it wrote. So I'm going to trust that the accuracy is really good, but it's definitely, pretty eye-opening and just interesting to see, another culture and religion in that sense, because I've spent a lot of time in New York, and so I've seen a lot of Hasidic Jews, but I don't really know that much about what goes on beyond me seeing them on the street.
Exactly.
So, definitely interesting. Would watch
That's
would
really
watch
cool.
that for sure.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, like if I really wanted to, I could probably finish it tonight. I don't think I will, because I'm gonna go watch something else probably. But one thing that I did finish quite quickly as well, not quite 4 episodes, it was 6 episodes, and that was the Amazon Prime Long Strange Trip documentary about the Grateful Dead, which Richie, you recommended this to me.
Yes, I did. I also have it on Blu-ray, but I watched it on Prime.
See, I would really like to go back when this all clears over and I come over at some point eventually. We need to watch the Blu-ray because I feel like it looks gorgeous.
I bet it would just be amazing. But the runtime, it's 242 minutes, so it's a little over. It's almost 5 hours long.
It was It was interesting that some of the episodes were like an hour, but then there was one that was like 38 minutes, which you don't really see a lot. Usually it's like all the episodes are the same length, but that was good that it wasn't 7 hours, because I'd probably still be watching it. But it started at Friday afternoon, I think. Is that when you recommended it to me?
Friday or Thursday night, probably Thursday night I recommended it to you, and then Friday I watched 2 more. Okay. And then you finished it Friday night. Yeah.
Well, did I finish it yesterday? I think I finished it yesterday.
Yes, I believe you did finish it yesterday.
Yeah, okay. So Thursday through Saturday sounds about right.
Yep. But it's one of my favorite band documentaries that exists. To me it's so well made. Amir Bar-Lev directed, executive produced by Dave Lemieux, who was the Grateful Dead's archivist. Justin Kreutzmann, son of Bill Kreutzmann, the one of the drummers, and an executive producer on this project was also Martin Scorsese.
Oh, cool.
Which I thought was a really cool thing to include there, just because he is just an incredible filmmaker, and I really love his films. But yeah, it really follows, and it's a great introduction for people who have never seen the Grateful Dead before. Yeah,
so just as a quick backstory for those of you who don't know, Richie is, by all senses of the term, a deadhead.
I'm a huge deadhead myself.
Has been since I've ever fucking known him.
I've since about 14 is when I really got into him.
So Richie has that in his back pocket. I have known about the Grateful Dead. I have heard music by the Grateful Dead, but never really went past that. It's not that I had anything against them. I was just incredibly indifferent about them.
Yeah, I agree.
And so Richie recommended this documentary or docuseries to me. And it was kind of funny on the timing, because I saw that Facebook post you made where you're like, I'm trying to make JB a deadhead, and I'm just like, I'm the final boss.
So I was just like, dude, watch this.
So I, figured, what the hell? I've got nothing else better to do. Again, it was 6 episodes, which is super easy to crush through.
Yep.
And so I went into it, and I was hooked. I'm not going to say hooked to the band yet, but I was hooked into the documentary halfway through episode 1. Because like you said, it is so well made. And what helped me gain at least an appreciation for the group was getting to start out at before they were the Grateful Dead and get the full, here's pre-band, and we're going to walk you through the entire lifetime of this group. And so for me to get that sort of backstory and get acquainted with everyone, that was really important for how I now have a more respect and interest in the band and how involved I got into the documentary, because I was I was glued to it when I was watching it.
Exactly, especially how they got their starts. This band got their starts at Ken Kesey's barn acid tests.
Yeah.
In San Francisco in the 50s, and very early 60s. They were the Warlocks, and
Yeah.
they show up, and they would. What's funny is that they would also the band would trip completely and start just improvising. So a lot of the stuff that was even played at these acid tests,
Yeah.
probably is stuff that they would have never written without Hunter or anything. So I'd even love to see if I could find recordings of those acid tests
That would
and
be
just
cool.
listen and see what came out of it.
Yeah,
But-
because like obviously, the Grateful Dead and psychedelics are sort of synonymous.
Mm-hmm.
But so like, I kind of knew that going into it, but like once they kicked in talking about like the acid tests and everything, and like really got into like the '60s stuff, I was like, okay, I'm buckling the fuck up. This is just what I want to watch right now. I was so like, something about that era of the '60s and like that whole thing, just getting to like watch footage of it and learn more about it. It fucking speaks to me some way. Like I'm fascinated by it. So just at a base level, that was really cool. But then the production value of the footage and the documentary around it, I was just like, this is super cool.
Yeah, it's one of those. They're one of those bands that have honestly stood the test of time.
Yeah.
And they were tested heavily. I mean, with the whole. My favorite is the family picture
Yeah. Oh
in
my god.
'74, and just so many fucking people part of that. And dude, the Wall of Sound
Yeah. Oh,
was
and like
incredible.
that's something that I've known about for a long time. Just being
But to
a music
actually
fan.
hear about it more and to really be into it,
And
how they
so-
made the bass stack 32 feet high
Yeah.
because that was a standing bass wave.
Yeah,
like,
I was like, that's fucking crazy. And of course, it was
Yeah.
all designed by a mad scientist who creates LSD.
Owsley Stanley, who
Yeah.
actually came up with the inspiration. They called him the Bear,
Yeah.
and that's actually where they got the dancing bears. Like,
Mhm.
if you ever notice, like there's actually an album that I love called Bear's Picks,
Yeah.
and it's Bear, and he came up with like these picks, and it's all like really early Dead stuff.
Oh, cool.
So it was like Pigpen's really just long blues. Like they did like a 16-minute blues called Katie May, and they would just jam. And my dad had his eye surgery, and he was recuperating from that.
Oh, I remember.
That was like the only album that he had playing at the time. Was just that over and over, and he would just listen to it all day long.
Yeah, I mean, the Wall of Sound is just like, it's fascinating because
Yep.
of what it is, and then to see it, like the footage of like the whole like road crew like putting it together, it's like that is freaking insane. And so when I started watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, no. And then it hit me like a couple episodes in, I'm like, wait a minute, there better be some Wall of Sound shit on here. And you had
Mhm.
told me that it's coming, so I'm like, all right, sweet. So I was super stoked when I got to that part.
Yep.
Again, just
Oh,
that
man,
was, what was
so
that?
good.
Early 73, 74 they debuted
Yep,
that?
73, 74, and they basically used it for about like, I want to say like a year. Like they
Yeah.
really only used the Wall of Sound for about a year.
Yeah, 'cause it was
Until
such a
they
pain
stopped,
in the
just 'cause
ass.
Exactly. Like once they realized that, like, shit, we're. What did he say? Like we'd wake up at 6 a.m. and do a full
my
show,
God,
and then be
yeah.
up at 6 a.m. the next day to start the next one.
Yeah,
Like,
listening to that breakdown of the time schedule was like ridiculous, especially coupled on the fact that these people are all doing like hella drugs and drinking and just, you know, living that life.
exactly. Yeah. I also watched a little bit the very first part today of what I'll recommend to you, Dead Set. It's on Prime.
Okay.
It's 2 electric sets and a starting acoustic set of the Dead from 1980. Actually hosted by Frank and Dave, which was Al Franken and Dave someone else, and they actually came out and like did stand-up comedy before
Oh,
they
cool.
started, and they actually do these little like bits in between, almost like a WWE type thing,
oh
like
my
backstage.
god, that's hilarious.
Al Franken plays Henry Kissinger, and he's caught with like a tape recorder,
yeah.
and Bill Kreutzmann comes out, he's like, "Give me the damn tape," and they asked Brent Midland to like help him out, introduce him. And he was like, "Yeah, get Brent Midland to introduce us. He's been with the band, what, 5 minutes?" Yeah. So it's just such a funny thing. And that's what I also love about the Dead is how they were allowed people to tape the shows.
Yeah.
My favorite quote from Jerry in the film is, "Once I'm done with the music, that's the people's. They can do whatever they want after it."
Yeah,
I'm like-
I do respect that because, like, again, the label was like, oh, well, they're trying to take this and do this. And they're like, well, we can either be cops or we could just let them do it. So they can go do it.
Exactly.
And just like seeing, they had a couple pictures of like people with their collections of like Dead Show tapes, and I'm like, that is insane. Like,
if you go onto the National Archives, archive.org,
oh, yeah, don't they have like a ton of them?
Yeah, if you go to the audio section, there's just a whole section of Dead tapes.
That's cool.
It's actually like one of the first things that you see is Grateful Dead, and it's just like, oh, perfect. And you can also look up Dead and Company, like people tape the Dead and Company shows, people tape Dark Star Orchestra shows.
Yeah.
So like I can go back and listen to the show that they played 2 summers ago with my dad, and when I went to go see him in November with my buddy Tom Knox.
That's
and
cool.
like I can go back and just re-listen to these shows, which were awesome, and which I think is really cool.
Yeah,
but I love that every show they played was different.
Yeah, that was really cool too, and that's definitely part of the appeal of why people keep going to them. I forgot who it was. It was one guy who was like, "Oh yeah, well, I saw these last 2 shows and they played this song this way, but like if I don't go to this one, I'm probably gonna miss something that's different." So
exactly, I think that was Al Franken talking about it.
Oh yeah.
When he was like, "I remember the Althea from Nassau. You're probably a Hampton guy."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's such a fun part because he's like, "You're probably a Hampton guy," and he's like, "Yeah," and then he's like, "That has a flavor of this one, but it's not this one that I saw." And then two nights later, they did it such a different way, and it's it's so cool to see that.
Definitely super interesting. From what I saw in the documentary, I definitely like the 60s, early 70s stuff a lot. Just from like watching the footage and sort of like getting the vibe from it.
Yeah, this documentary focuses more on like that early stage anyway.
Yeah.
Really.
Which, again, I really like that era of music and just sort of everything about it. So super cool to see that. I definitely need to spend some more time with maybe like 80s later stuff. And it's super interesting because like one thing that I noticed when I was watching it, and they were in, it was probably 80s, not quite 90s maybe, but I think it was the Deadhead episode. When like it was like that new generation of Deadheads, and it was all like fucking pandemonium. Something about watching that footage, because I think it was shot on like tape or like recorded by like news cameras, so not necessarily on like film. There's just that like 80s feel to it. And something about it just doesn't like resonate with me as much as watching like the older stuff shot on film does. That makes me sound so fucking pretentious, and I'm not trying to be like film is superior, but just like something about it, just something about the way that it just feels like televised.
Exactly. And like especially the 80s, there's something that I'm going to recommend to you now. It's called Trucking Up to Buffalo.
Yes.
It was recorded on July 4th, 1989 in I believe it's Richmond Park, New York, in Buffalo. And Trucking Up to Buffalo. And it's honestly my favorite live show that I think I've listened to and seen. And they actually have it fully videotaped and recorded, and it is just amazing. It's the music that's out of that is just phenomenal. But I think 89 is like my favorite year of the Dead.
Yeah.
Jerry he hit something that year, and it's like not like hit like a drug or shot up or anything, but he tapped into something in him, and it resonates so well in the music, and you can tell, and in those recordings he's smiling.
Yeah.
And he's looking at the band, and he's smiling to everyone, and he was a kind of a stoic person, but God, he was just so full of life, and it was so cool to listen to and see on these recordings, which is really cool.
Hold on one quick second. I got to record a quick video. I told one of my friends that we're talking about the Dead on this episode, and they know a bit about the Dead, and they sent me a picture of this album cover, and he's like, "Oh, I have a question for you guys since you're talking about it. How the fuck do I pronounce this?" So I'm just going to say it. Oxomoxoa.
Oxomoxoa, yep.
It's a palindrome.
Yep.
And
Thanks,
that is
Mickey Hart.
And that is quoted almost directly from the documentary.
Yep, it's just a complete nonsense word.
Yeah.
But they needed something. I also discovered... So I read this a long time ago, and I just went back to it now, and I was just like, oh no. A copy of Eugene O'Neill's The Iceman Cometh. It's one of my favorite plays to read. But I just remembered, look who we have on the cover.
Oh no.
Oh no, it's Kevin Spacey.
Dude, fucking back in high school, in my graphics class, one of my really good friends and I, we would just like, we were super cool with my teacher, And we would always have fun down there because it was in like the basement of the high school, and it was like the coolest
Mhm.
place to be.
Mhm.
And so we were just hanging out, and he always would be like, Weber, if you had to get lunch with one celebrity, who'd you want to go get like a sandwich with? And we both agreed, we're like, I don't know, man, I kind of want to get lunch with Kevin Spacey. And like this was high school, so
so this was before the allegations and
before any of that. So
yeah.
then like after this happened, like next time I saw him, because that happened definitely while I was at college. But so like when I saw him in Newtown Next, he was just like, "Who the fuck are we gonna get lunch with now, man?" I'm like, "I know, Kevin. Why'd you have to do it?"
Yeah.
But
I mean, I would have loved to have gotten lunch with Jerry Garcia and just kind of talked to him about just his philosophies and things.
that's
because-
definitely another interesting thing because
Mhm.
I've probably seen footage of him talking or something previously, but like to see a lot of him talking, especially throughout his life, was really interesting. Especially that last, I don't know if it's last interview, but it's on like the last couple episodes, the main interview that they were using of him.
When he was talking about Frankenstein.
Yeah, he just
Yeah.
seems like such like a bubbly kind of fun guy.
Yeah. He was actually known to he was his worst like critic.
Yeah,
And he would come out of shows that were particularly rocking, and he would be like throwing shit backstage
really.
and beating himself up because he thought he did such a bad job. But
Dude, I feel that's so fucking hardcore.
yeah.
Even over like the littlest thing.
Mhm.
So that's definitely cool. But yeah, I mean, what I thought was really, really funny when they had just gotten signed to Warner Brothers and they wanted to
Mhm.
like record them, and they just fucking dosed everyone on LSD. All the
Oh yeah,
filmmakers.
when they did Playboy After Dark
Yeah.
and they
Oh,
dosed
that was funny
everyone.
too. That was funny too.
Man. And
But,
Jerry dosed just the huge coffee pot,
Yeah.
and they tried to give it to the president of
Warner-
it president?
Yeah,
Or-
like Warner Brothers president.
yeah, it just fucking. He's like, no thanks.
Yeah. But I think this was when they were doing like a live show, and they like just started dosing up the camera crew that they sent to film them, and the camera crew just started like getting real fucking weird with it.
Yeah,
And they were, like,
that
recording
was in
each
Europe
other
and,
instead of
like,
the
quick
band and
cuts, quick cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite is when they were talking about the guy doing sound. And,
yeah.
Like they hired like a new guy for one day, and they found him like cowering
Yeah.
under the soundboard.
Dude, oh my god, that one part where it was the guy who was in the truck doing all the sound,
Yeah.
and he had to go fix the microphone, and so he goes
Yeah.
in, and then what song was it that they started playing?
Walk Me Out in the Morning Dew.
Yeah, and he was just like, he's like, dude, I just started fucking crying.
Yeah, and he's just like, I can't go to the truck now. I have
Yeah.
to be here
Yeah,
at this. And then my favorite is when Jerry looks at him and just gave him like the look.
yeah,
And they have it on picture of like the look that like he's giving him just
Yeah.
down. I was like, oh man.
and then
But-
when they were picking the music for like Europe '72, and
Yeah.
he was like, all right, that's definitely going on there, and he's like, and
Exactly.
no one was in the truck for it.
Exactly. Like and it's the one that makes it like the last song on the album and that
Mm.
made the cut. I was like, oh, perfect. But they did so much for music.
Yeah,
They brought in I don't know if any other band's done it, but they were really the first band to really improvise and really look at it. I mean, they started a year after the Beatles came to the US
yeah,
in 65.
I think
Like,
so.
I would probably say everything up to that point, like even guitar solos were like kind of clear cut, you know what I mean? You knew where it was going to end up and where it was going to like bring you to the next verse of the bridge or something.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I
But
feel
with
like
the Dead, they were just like, let's fucking just fly. Let's
go
fly
for it.
and see where we end up. And it's one of those like that like little like pretentious like that's in every like white girl's college. Shoot for the star. No, shoot for the sun. If you miss, you'll land somewhere among the stars. But honestly, a lot of their stuff had just a very celestial feel.
Yeah, it
I even have a
says-
poster that I have right up on top of my desk on my wall, and I think you've seen it. 100 Dead songs,
Oh yeah,
and it's this illustration of just 100 different Dead songs that show up, and I just think it's really cool that they have it.
yeah. It says the Warlocks were formed in early 1965. So
Right. Yeah, and actually, if you find on the archives, they actually have some of the very first shows that they ever did.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. The Dead played over 2,000 shows in 30 years, from 65 to 95, when
That's
Jerry
insane.
passed. I think the last show my dad saw was, I think, the year that Jerry passed. If not that year, then 94.
Oh, really?
But my dad started following them in about 74.
Yeah.
He snuck out of his house, and one of his first shows he saw was like Allman Brothers and Grateful Dead.
Ooh, that's
got him.
That's a stacked lineup right there.
And then when my dad was he went to school for culinary at Johnson & Wales.
Mm.
He was a block away from the Providence Civic Center,
Oh, geez.
where the Dead came to play. And so for 3 days, whenever the Dead would come,
He just caught it.
they would just be overrun.
That's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah, no one in my family is into the Grateful Dead, so I don't have any stories like that. Although I do love hearing your stories about your dad and the Dead, especially the Ren Fair one.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if did I say this on the podcast?
I don't
think
know.
I did say it on the podcast. But yeah, my dad on one of his first dates with my mom took her to King Richard's Fair in Carver, where Doc Antle
Yep.
used to do his Lions show.
Oh, speaking
and
of
Tiger
which,
Show.
they're coming out with a new episode like this week of Tiger King. I don't know if you saw
Oh,
that.
shit.
They're releasing like a new episode.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I wonder what's happening.
same. So please
I
continue.
do know that they reopened the case against Carol
I did see
and
that.
her husband. They reopened that case, but yeah. So my dad ended up ditching my mom because he got a call saying that the Dead were playing in Worcester, and my dad asked my mom like, "Can I take you home and go?" and dropped my mom off at home, plastered,
Yeah.
and then went to go see the Grateful Dead. But my dad has even weirder stories. When he was in Providence, his buddy, I think JD,
Mm.
was camping to get tickets.
Oh,
Because
wow.
at that point, it was about 83. It was right when Touch of Grey came out, and all the young crowds were getting there, and you could barely get tickets. And he, so he camped. He decided to camp for 3 days to get tickets for him. And on the second day, just to like as a thank you for him, they all dressed in their chef garb, like their culinary school garb. They did like the little towel over the
Towel
arm,
over the wrist. Yeah.
candelabras, champagne. They gave him a boiled lobster dinner.
Oh
And
my
they
god.
picnicked out a boiled lobster dinner, and all the hippies are standing there like, "What the fuck is going on here?" But they gave him like a 3-course meal on the
Oh,
ground
that's
as he's
super
camping
cool.
to get tickets, which I thought was just hilarious. And yeah, it's just he has some really funny stories. He went to go see the Dead in Hartford, Connecticut,
Hey.
and yeah, and they took. Excuse me, I got hiccups. They took his car down. They took my dad's car down.
Yeah.
And his car didn't start after they were trying to get back. So they called AAA, and they towed it all the way back to Mass.
Mm.
And so they went to catch a bus, to take a bus back and find a place to sleep and everything. And of course, at the bus station are a bunch of just other deadheads. My dad said that was his favorite show that he went to because he was behind the band. Like his seats
Oh,
were
cool.
behind the band at a
Oh,
stadium.
interesting.
I think it was at the Hartford
Probably
Coliseum.
Civic Center.
Civic Center,
The
probably.
Coliseum was in New Haven.
It was a
That's-
stadium. I know that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because the New Haven Coliseum, obviously in New Haven, that's gone now.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Van Halen recorded a concert movie there
Oh
that
shit!
I have on DVD. It's Sammy Hagar.
But
Van
on the streets of New Haven.
Yeah, it's Sammy Hagar Van Halen now.
Yeah.
Hartford might be the Civic Center.
I think it was the Civic Center. But yeah, so they're at the bus stop, and they're waiting, and my dad sees this woman in a sheer sundress, so you can see everything underneath
Yeah.
her, and she is not wearing underwear of any kind.
Yeah.
And she's stomping in puddles,
Oh my
and
god.
she's just stomping and just stomping. And she turns to my dad, looks him square in the eyes, and says this: "Puddles, they're a sure thing." And that's the only thing she said to him. My dad went, "Okay."
See ya.
And just continued on his day. That was the same concert when my dad has this like derby hat. I think I also said this story. And JD had a bunch of roses that he placed around the rim of the hat, and one of them broke and was just dangling.
Yeah.
And a woman walked by, and he just took the broken rose out of the hat and handed it to her and went, "This is for you." Fully, and those, "Oh, thank you." And on her eyelids, she wrote "Dark Eyes," which is from Shakedown Street. You know,
Yeah.
you got such dark eyes. Did it. And so she had like dark eyes written on her eyelids. So when she closed her eyes, it said it. I was like, "Ah, Jesus Christ."
That's cool.
No,
yeah,
but yeah,
it was
he
definitely
had
probably
so
the
much
Hartford
fun.
Civic Center. That's what I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of. um, which sounds about right because that's a stadium.
Yeah, my dad has some awesome stories, and I think he might have a bootlegger too.
That's cool. I think actually, oh yeah, the Civic Center is now the XL Center, and that's where I saw Roger Waters.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah. So
that must have been an amazing show. Let me take a look and see when the Dead played there, and I can probably pinpoint.
They played there. What year was this? Was it the 80s?
That I can't remember. But let me take a look because if I can
it seems like they played there quite a bit in the 80s.
Yeah, it must have been.
Too.
Let me take a look. It was probably like 84.
Yeah.
Or 83. So I think it was. Yeah, it was probably 84, 83. And so I'm just going to probably pick a day and see if I can find the set list. So, yeah, they actually had the full set. So, I don't know if you'll probably won't get this, but any other Deadheads out there who are listening will get it. Starting with Hell in a Bucket, Sugaree, El Paso, Birdsong, CC Rider, Tennessee Jed, Jack Straw, and Day Job. Set 2 was a Scarlet Fire opener into Playing in the Band, into the drum solo, into Space, Out of Space into The Wheel, Wharf Rat, back into Playing in the Band Part 2, and ending with Sugar Magnolia. And the encore was It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, which is a Dylan cover. The Dead did a lot with Dylan. They actually did a series of shows with Dylan, and a lot of people didn't like it. But I personally enjoyed them. I actually have an album called Dylan and the Dead. It's got like 6 songs of just live stuff that Dylan played with them, which I thought was really cool. Santana played with the Grateful Dead a lot. Branford Marsalis was a jazz saxophone player, and he did some stuff in the very early 90s with the Dead. And there's a great interview that he talks about of playing with Jerry Garcia and everything. But yeah, I'm going to be sending you so much shit to listen to now that you've watched the documentary, because I'm gonna try my best to turn you into a Deadhead.
Again, I'm the final boss. You've opened the door. Let's say that.
Like I said, I don't think I can actually truthfully turn you into a Deadhead unless I take you to a show.
Yeah.
And you're definitely coming with me and my dad to a show.
Dude, yeah.
One day.
Fucking A.
And we are gonna just rock out with our socks out. And
I was looking on Spotify, because there's so fucking much under their albums there.
Yeah.
And they do have 2 Dick's Picks from Connecticut, so I'll probably check those out.
Yep.
One's from the Civic Center, 10/14/83, and then the other one I saw was is there 3 of them? Yeah, there's one from New Haven, 5/10/78. And then I believe there's another one from New Haven as well. I could be wrong, but that was from the New Haven Coliseum. I went to a circus at the New Haven Coliseum before they tore it down.
Ooh, how was that?
I don't remember because it was a long time ago. But I remember watching them do the demolition on it, like on TV.
Oh wow!
Damn, I don't even know how I remember that. Let's see, what year did they tore it down? 2007. Okay, so I guess I kind of remember that. But yeah, that's my only acquaintance with the New Haven Coliseum is just apparently going to a circus there and then watching it get destroyed on television, live television.
Yeah, in the Grateful Dead movie, they actually show the demolition of the Winterland Ballroom.
Oh, cool!
Like in it, they filmed it and they put it in it. It was actually directed by Jerry Garcia.
Yeah, I might really watch that one tonight, maybe.
Yeah, that's something that you really have to watch to really get a sense. There's some great scenes. My favorite are when they just cut to the audience.
Yeah,
the fucking audience. There's this great thing about this guy, and of course this guy's on his high horse of like, who's real. They're only making this film because of to make money and shit like that. And this guy comes up to him, he's like, you know, in 10 years this movie will exist, and guess what? You'll probably pay money to go see it in a theater. So guess what? And it's crazy. I actually my senior year or my junior year, I went to go see the Grateful Dead meetup where they re-released the Grateful Dead movie.
Oh, cool.
And that was what they screened it. Oh man, it was so cool because they prefaced it with a Dead and Company doing Ripple, of like
Yeah.
a live clip of Dead and Company doing that song, and they went into the Grateful Dead movie. But my dad and I try to go almost every year. We saw Veneta, Oregon '72, Beat Club in Germany '72 when they did the recording for their Europe '72 tour, and we saw Sullivan Stadium '89. It's actually where they got the clip at the very end of Dear Mr. Fantasy, and
Okay, yeah.
And what's really cool is when they did that one live, to keep the song going, they went into the end of Hey Jude
Oh,
because it's the
cool.
same chord progression,
Yeah.
and they went off. And as they're doing the na 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 nas, Brent Midland is still doing Dear Mr. Fantasy over it, which is really cool. But yeah, I'm gonna send you so much stuff of what I consider like peak like live stuff.
Yeah. Top
But
tier.
I'm gonna send you a bunch of studio stuff too.
Yeah, I definitely
Yeah,
got
they
to
did some
get,
really
get
cool
into
stuff.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have my. You picked a great time, because my furlough starts tomorrow.
Right?
so-
Just like he can't leave, guys. Fucking start playing the Grateful Dead shit. I show up to your place one day. Richie, what are you doing here? I turn around, lock the door. Oh, nothing. Driving that train. No,
Okay.
stop
Okay,
it.
so I'm glad you made that reference. So we're gonna jump back to Unorthodox really quick.
Oh yes,
Because
please go for it.
This shit is fucking hilarious. So I'm
Mhm.
watching this episode today, and
Yep.
this is in episode 2. Again, it's this woman escaping to Berlin and trying to start a new life, but they have a lot of flashbacks
Mhm.
to see how she got there, because it was like she was married for a year and I
Mhm.
guess was really dissatisfied with it and wanted to leave. So they keep cutting back to stuff that like led up to that, and they have footage from her and her husband's wedding,
Mhm.
and there's a scene of it where it's focused on her, and this is like just when the ceremony's starting, and then it cuts to a video or like a shot of him,
Mhm.
and I don't really know how to verbally describe what he's doing. I know there's definitely a meaning behind it. It's
Yep.
sort of like this like head nodding thing with his eyes closed. And again,
Mhm.
I'm not sure what the significance is for that in their religion, so I'm not going to try to overcomplicate it by trying to explain it, but that's what he's doing. And just the way that he was moving his head and body and his eyes were closed, I saw like a second of it. And I was like, I need to make a video of me playing Casey Jones behind that, because he looks like he's just fucking at a Dead show grooving out. And
Yes.
I did. And so I made a video of it on Snapchat of me just playing it and playing it on Spotify. And I'm like, I have to send this to Richie, but I can make it better. So
Yeah.
I screen recorded my screen watching that on Netflix,
Damn.
and then intercut it with footage of the Grateful Dead playing live that song, and we just cut
Oh,
it back to
man.
him like grooving out. So that was my creative outlet for the day. And I would never have thought of that if I didn't watch this documentary. So again, your timing is impeccable.
That's awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna be sending you so much shit to listen to, and just oh man, it's gonna be great. I think now would be a good time to go into Richie's poetry corner.
Yeah, dude, totally.
Would
What do
you
you
like?
what do you have for us today?
Awesome. I have a poet. His name is James Wright.
Okay.
James Wright was born in Martins Ferry, Ohio. And many of his strongest poems return to the abandoned factory towns and lonely farms of the Midwest to, quote, the ache and sorrow of darkened earth, unquote. He won the Pulitzer Prize in 1972. His collected poems did that. He taught at Hunter College. And so he is very... they evoke the deep image. So I have 3 shorter poems to read today.
Cool.
That we could talk about. So if you'd like. The first poem is called Lying in a Hammock at William Duffy's Farm in Pine Island, Minnesota. So, yeah, pretty obvious to see where we are.
Yes.
All right. Over my head, I see the bronze butterfly asleep on the black trunk, blowing like a leaf in green shadow. Down the ravine behind the empty house, the cowbells follow one another into the distances of the afternoon. To my right, in a field of sunlight between 2 pines, the droppings of last year's horses blaze up into golden stones. I lean back as the evening darkens and comes on. A chicken hawk floats over, looking for home. I have wasted my life. Everything's great until that last line.
Yeah.
What is that? Just he's sitting on a hammock and he's seeing just everything and he's hearing everything, and then all of a sudden it's just, I have wasted my life.
Well, so here's my question for you.
Mm-hmm.
He's sitting on this hammock in, where was this?
William Duffy's farm in Pine Island, Minnesota.
Okay, so my interpretation of it is maybe he's taking all of this in and is like, I've wasted my life because I'm doing something different normally than taking advantage of this, like, sort of like nature farmscape sort of thing.
Exactly.
That was like a quick idea.
I think I agree with that interpretation. After seeing everything and just being in that pastoral vibe.
And you're like, shit, I could have been doing this for a lot longer.
Exactly. I feel like, I would agree with that interpretation, actually. I feel like that's a really great interpretation of this poem. I love the line, what's that one? Down the ravine behind the empty house, the cowbells follow one another into the distances of the afternoon. Not cows, the cowbells, because he's hearing it, and it's
just the bells.
And how do you hear something following something else? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like it really also totally makes sense. Like,
exactly.
I'm loving these little descriptive pieces.
Oh yeah,
it's
definitely me too.
It's definitely helping when it's been cloudy out and we're stuck inside, to sort of like get transported there for a little bit.
Here's the next one. The next poem is called Beginning.
Okay.
The moon drops 1 or 2 feathers into the field. The dark wheat listens. Be still. Now. There they are, the moon's young, trying their wings. Between trees, a slender woman lifts up the lovely shadow of her face, and now she steps into the air. Now she is gone wholly into the air. I stand alone by an elder tree. I do not dare breathe or move. I listen. The wheat leans back toward its own darkness, and I lean toward mine.
Ooh, fuck.
Yeah.
I love those last 2 lines.
Yes. I stand alone by an elder tree. I do not dare breathe or move. I listen. The wheat leans back toward its own darkness, and I lean toward mine. I love a slender woman lifts up the lovely shadow of her face. Is the woman the moon?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a lot more. I feel like it's open to interpretation or more abstract.
Yeah, I mean the moon is clearly a bird. The moon drops 1 or 2 feathers.
Yeah.
The moon's young, trying their wings. I love. There they are. The moon's young. I see that as the stars.
Ooh.
Things like that. And the woman I feel like is the wind.
Okay, I could see that.
He chose an elder tree.
Yeah.
Why would he choose an elder tree? Is that signifying the oldness of life? Is he now in like the 4th season? If we're thinking midsummer, you know what I mean? Is he in the winter? We can say.
Real quick,
really
I
poem.
saw a tweet today that was Midsummer is just Fight Club for white girls or like white women,
shit.
and I'm like, you know what? But I'm here for it.
Yep.
Both Midsummer and Fight. Yo, you want to do a double screening, Midsummer and Fight Club?
No thanks, because I like my sanity, just the way it is. Thank you very much. All right.
So what is poem numero 3 for us?
So this last poem is called A Blessing.
Okay.
Just off the highway to Rochester, Minnesota, twilight bounds softly forth on the grass, and the eyes of those 2 Indian ponies darken with kindness. They have come gladly out of the willows to welcome my friend and me. We step over the barbed wire into the pasture where they have been grazing all day alone. They ripple tensely, they can hardly contain their happiness that we have come. They bow shyly as wet swans. They love each other. There is no loneliness like theirs. At home once more, they begin munching the young tufts of spring in the darkness. I would like to hold the slenderer one in my arms, for she has walked over to me and nuzzled my left hand. She is black and white. Her mane falls wild on her forehead, and the light breeze moves me to caress her long ear that is delicate as the skin over a girl's wrist. Suddenly I realize that if I stepped out of my body, I would break into blossom.
Ooh.
Oh, man. I love this poem.
I forgot what I was trying to remember the wording on it. But it was talking about the horse like grazing. It's like eating the spring's young. Is that what it was?
Yes. So, yep.
Was that the correct verbiage for that?
Yep. They begin munching the young tufts of spring in the darkness.
Yeah, I don't know, just because, like, that's such an interesting way of saying, like, grass coming up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, it didn't even take me a minute to realize that's what he was saying. It was just like, oh, yeah, no, that makes total sense, and that's such a great way to put it, too.
Yep. I love his description, and the light breeze moves me to caress her long ear that is delicate as the skin over a girl's wrist. Just like, how do I describe this delicateness? I'll use this, and I think that's a really cool way. So he is horse riding, I want to say.
Okay.
Just off the highway, twilight bound softly, in the eyes of those two Indian ponies darken with kindness. Mm. So he's there. The blessing, I believe the blessing would be the nuzzling, I want to say. So his interaction of nature.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that.
So now you have, I would consider in this poem, human is machine and nature is, and pony is the nature.
Okay.
So it's that melding of the two that is the blessing, I want to say. And I really like that poem.
Yeah, no, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I think that one might be my favorite of the three. Although I did like all three of them.
Yeah, I feel like each one actually has like something in it that I really like. Especially his last lines of poems.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say, like, so far with all three, like, or most, well, maybe not this one, because I sort of like this one just overall as a whole, but, like, the other two, I'm like, those last lines are really what's hitting the home runs for me right now.
I have wasted my life for the first one. The second last line is, the wheat leans back toward its own darkness and I lean toward mine. And the third one is, suddenly I realized that if I stepped out of my body, I would break into blossom. Like,
again, it's sort of like the one that I read on last episode. Of course, I'm obviously forgetting the author's name now. Was Rip Rap? Who was that?
Rip Rap. That was Rip Rap. I believe was Allen Ginsberg.
No. How can I forget? This?
Gary Snyder.
Yes, I believe so. Let me just do a quick check. I read Hay for the Horses.
Yes, that's right. Yep, that was Gary Snyder.
So, and it's sort of the same thing with that, because again, like the last lines on that one were, it's like, I'd hate to spend my whole life bucking hay, and damn it, that's just what I've done. And it's sort of the same thing with this, where the author just they set up this whole, mental landscape for you, and then you get to the last lines and it's just like, well, here you go, and it's just like, whoa, because you get so ingrained into it and so drawn into it, and then they just they zing you with that last line, and you're like, yes, I understand.
So yeah, I think you brought it up too, but I also want to just recommend for our viewers to listen to Jack Kerouac and Steve Allen.
Oh, yes.
I think it's called Poems for a Beat Generation or something like that. And it's Steve Allen, the talk show host, playing jazz piano under Jack Kerouac reciting poetry.
It is incredible.
It's insane. I thoroughly enjoy it. And
I haven't listened to the whole thing yet. I'm waiting for just like the right rainy afternoon to just put it on and sit there, which I probably could have done last week because it was raining a lot, but we'll get more of it. But yeah,
we're gonna get more in the next couple days, I would say, of some rain.
What a great combination,
right?
Because again,
Kerouac, Steve Allen.
The first video that I sent you of that and how I found out about this was Kerouac was on this guy's like late night show. And they just did that on the late night show. Like, could you imagine something like that happening now? I mean, like, I don't really know who would be a contemporary Kerouac, but like
Yep.
that's something about that is just so perfect for that time period and just feels so right and is like
Exactly.
imagine being there for that and just
Mhm.
watching it. Oh my god.
Yep. Yep. And also, I was going through my Blu-rays to find the copy of Long Strange Trip that I could show Weber, like that I have it.
Yeah.
I found two that I really think that people should really watch. The first one is more serious. I have Imagine by John and Yoko,
Okay.
and Give Me Some Truth, the making of the Imagine album double feature on Blu-ray. Imagine is basically the album Imagine, but in video form.
Yeah.
And then Mac
keep
and
that
Me.
away. Keep that away from Gal Gadot. Oh my god, Mac and Me. Yeah, we have to
Yes.
watch that sometimes.
So we have to do a watch party on Mac and Me and react to it. But
Yes.
this is the best movie ever made. All right, this is an ET ripoff. It's the best movie ever. They have a sequence. They have a dance sequence at a McDonald's,
Oh my god.
but it's not sponsored by McDonald's. It's sponsored by the transportation department of McDonald's.
Whoa.
This is the best movie ever. I love it. This is the clip that Paul Rudd always shows when he's on Conan comes from this movie.
Oh jeez.
So yeah, I really
I
enjoy
don't,
it.
has do you watch Red Letter Media? They're on YouTube.
Maybe if I saw like one of the videos they made, I'd be
So-
like, oh, okay, I know that.
They're all movie based.
Mhm.
They do a lot of stuff where they'll talk about, maybe some newer movies or go and like review older movies and talk about them.
Mhm.
But they have this series called Best of the Worst
Ooh.
where because these guys they only have like I'm looking at their YouTube right now. It's like 1.15 million subscribers. But they have like a whole like warehouse and stuff and like studio that they shoot in.
Mhm.
And people just send them VHS tapes and send them movies, and some of them are like just shitty movies and other ones are like weird instructional videos from the 80s or like just
Oh, perfect.
VHS tapes that have nothing written on them and they just have to guess. But so they have this series
Yes.
called Best of the Worst. Well, they'll pick like 3 or 4, usually through some weird means. They have like it's called Wheel of the Worst, where they spin a wheel and it lands on them.
Oh, I like that.
You would get a kick out of this because they're the shittiest movies ever.
Oh,
Um,
perfect.
And
I'm already
actually,
down.
recently, you know who one of their friends is who's on the show a lot?
Who?
Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, yes.
And let me tell
Fuck
you,
yeah.
right now, Macaulay Culkin, he's a cool motherfucker.
He is. I want to go have lunch with him.
Yeah, that would be all right. There it is. That's my new lunch. My celebrity lunch date would be Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay
This guy
Culkin.
is fucking hilarious, and he works with them so well.
Did they talk about the bad? Was it called the good son?
I don't know, but I want to
Because-
see if they talk about Mac and Me because I'm sure they do at some point if it's that.
Oh
bad.
man, because I don't know if you remember a movie that was Macaulay Culkin and I think Elijah Wood,
Ooh.
and it was called The Good Son. I think it was called, and it's just a really shitty movie about like this psychopathic kid played by Macaulay Culkin who like ends up like killing people and shit. It's
oh my
weird.
God.
Yeah. But I
Um,
was also just pulling up, and I have them here, some Criterion collections that I own.
Ooh.
The first one I think that we should really watch is Al-Hassad Balthazar.
Okay.
This was Robert Bresson is the director. Came out in 1966. It is about a donkey, and it follows the life of this donkey through the eyes of the donkey, but it's all about his different owners. Some nice, some abusive.
Not so nice, yeah.
Things like that. Also, I have Nobuhiko Obayashi's 1977 film House.
Ooh.
It
that's an
is a
interesting cover.
surrealist horror film.
Oh jeez.
And I don't know if you can see some of the. So this, the book that is in it has like a bunch of like weird or like stills from the film.
Yeah.
So like I gotta find some like stills from the film that I can show you on here and maybe try to describe
Are you
to viewers.
familiar with Suspiria?
Oh man, I love Suspiria, dude.
Yeah, dude. I
Such a good fucking movie.
I watched that. Obviously, I think I have access to the newer one, but I just haven't watched it. I watched the original one, and it legitimately like creeped me the fuck out. Like,
Yep.
it was really good. Is that a
here's a
Eraserhead that I see?
Yes, here's a shout out to Reagan Murphy. I have a Eraserhead on the Criterion
Oh
Collection.
my god. Oh, yeah.
It is fucking unbelievable, mainly because it comes with like this full fucking like book
Oh wow.
on like the making of it, and I believe it has an interview with David Lynch.
Oh, was that the Art Life you were watching the other day?
I was watching the Art Life the other day,
like
and I'm
the
trying to
Art
get into
Life.
it. So, yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, Eraserhead is just—it's one of those movies where it's one of those have to watches before you die
yeah.
type thing. This came out the same year as Star Wars. I don't know if you know, 1977.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, and this also has short films by David Lynch. Six Men Getting Sick, The Alphabet, The Grandmother, The Amputee version 1 and version 2,
Ooh.
and Premonitions Following an Evil Dead. All with video introductions by Lynch. So,
Oh my god, that's awesome.
also, we never talked about it on here, but
I know. I was literally
we-
just thinking about that. Or you think
we
what I'm
have
thinking?
to talk about What Would Jack Do?
Yeah, let's save that for another time in the week so I can get another watch in and we can really dive into it because we're about to hit an hour. And
Yeah.
I need to go rewatch it a couple times, and I say a couple
Yeah.
times because it's 15 minutes long.
Right, yeah. So,
Um,
if any of our viewers would like to watch it with us and talk about it in the comments tomorrow, definitely start watching.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll be great. So yeah,
it's so weird, and I love
What
it.
Would Jack Do?
I just remember because I forgot what it was. I was on Twitter, and then I saw like David Lynch trending, and I was like, "Oh, what's this about?" And then
I was like,
saw
you better
another
not
one.
have died.
No, I never get on that, especially now, because it's like with the coronavirus thing. Every time you see a celebrity trending, you go on it. It's like 1,000 tweets being like, "Oh my God, saw Bill Murray was trending. Thought he got coronavirus. Thank God, almost had a heart attack." So that's why a couple days ago when Van Gogh was trending, I tweeted. I was like, "Yo, saw Van Gogh was trending. Almost had a heart attack, dude. I thought he got corona."
That would actually be funny. I would.
But I saw David Lynch and then What Would Jack Do trending, so I clicked on it and I was like, yeah, new David Lynch short film on Netflix, and it was, I'm in, and I still don't know what to make of it, but I'm working on it.
Exactly.
I've watched
when we
it like
talk about
6
tomorrow,
times, I think.
Yeah, I've seen it about 4 or 5 times, and then I forced all my Funny Please members to watch it as well.
Good.
But yeah, so if I feel like that would be the main topic of discussion tomorrow.
Well, we could either do it perhaps tomorrow or perhaps the next day, because as far as I know, I have to double check. I think tomorrow our good friend from school, Elena Friedman's gonna be on the show.
Oh yes, that would be great. Yes, I'm excited for that.
So I'll see what's up with that. Because I know they have a headset with a microphone that they use for work, and I'm like, that's perfect. That's great. Just plug that shit into GarageBand and let's go.
Yes, definitely.
So I'll follow up, and we'll probably have that. That'll be a fun episode,
Yeah.
and then let's shoot for the
2
episode
days.
after that. 2 days. It's so weird
Yeah.
because I want to say Tuesday, but it's the
But-
episode. It's the episode that comes out
Yeah.
on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But yeah, I feel like I'll also pull up some surrealist poetry to read that day as well,
Ooh.
so we can have a really big sense fuckery
Okay,
going on.
I'll do that. I'll do the same thing as well. I'll do my research.
Perfect. Let's each try to find a surrealist poem to do.
Okay. I like
I love how
this.
we're just discussing our plans for future podcasts on the episode.
See, this is good because now it's set in stone. Because I'm going to have to re-listen to this tomorrow when I edit it, and like export it and everything. So I'm like, okay, now it's gonna be in my head twice. So
Perfect.
that's good.
Awesome.
And
So
you
yeah,
get a look inside the podcaster studio and see how we're doing this motherfucker.
I think it's a good time to take this puppy out back and shoot it. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Jesus.
I got nothing for that.
Sorry, Curly.
Oh, jeez.
That's a Mice and Men reference. That's a Steinbeck reference there.
Fuck.
So, oh man, I'm going to hell.
So on that note, this was
Yeah.
definitely a totally different episode than anything we've ever really done. We had like a more music-based episode a couple times ago, but this is really keyed in on just the Dead, and then some other stuff towards the end, and I like that.
Yeah.
So, first of all, also tomorrow is when I gotta file for unemployment. So not only will we hopefully have our good friend from school, Elena Friedman, on the show, you'll also get my first-hand experience on that and any sort of...
You mean today you file for unemployment?
the dates that I put on the title cards when I put them on the video are the days we recorded them. So today.
Okay, so tomorrow.
Today.
All
Or
right.
no, so tomorrow.
So
So Monday.
yesterday, you filed for unemployment.
Yeah.
Perfect.
6 weeks from 3 months ago.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yes. So you'll get my firsthand experience with that. So that should be good, and then I'll keep you all updated on all that fun shit.
Perfect.
So I am probably gonna go take a shower and then watch the Grateful Dead movie.
Nice.
I'll definitely let you know how I think about what I think about that.
Word.
For everyone else, thank you for listening. I know it was a bit of a departure, but I think we had a pretty good discussion. And of course, Poetry Hour. That's it. That's a great addition, and I'm super glad we're doing it every
I'm
episode.
really excited to start doing Poetry Hour, and I hope to maybe even do some personal poetry on Poetry Hour.
That would be fantastic.
Richie's Poetry Corner, I'm gonna call it.
I like that. Get a
Yeah, I'm gonna make up like a whole lore how this is like from like the Chuckle Club. Was it? Yeah, it's the Chuckle Club. Proudly announces Richie's Poetry Corner.
Okay, you said Giggle Hut last time.
I said the Giggle Hut.
Yeah.
No, we're the what did I call it today? The Chuckle Hut.
Chuckle Corner, Chuckle Hut. Yeah, I like the Chuckle Hut.
I like the Chuckle
Let's
Hut.
just say they got new owners. Like coronavirus kind of put them out of business, but then someone with a lot of money picked up the tab and bought it over. So
Exactly, and it's we're keeping people 6 feet apart here at the Chuckle Club.
So that said, stay tuned for hopefully lots of other cool things. Thank you
Mhm.
everyone for listening, hanging out, and whatever y'all are doing while you're listening to this. I hope it's fun. Hope everyone has a good afternoon, evening, night, morning, whenever you listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you once again. Keep hanging in there. It's April and we still got a long road to go, but we got this.
Stay safe.
So stay safe, stay cool, and as always, stay socially distant.